Welcome to my Scrappin' Space. I'm Joni Martin. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Southwest Wisconsin, and I'm here today to share a card with you made with the Reindeer Days suite. How about you say we get my face out of the way and we start to create. So here's the card we're going to make, and we are using from this suite. Check out this embossing folder. Easily one of my favorite embossing folders. And then we're also using this really fun Jingle Bell paper. There's great things in the suite, but we're just going to use those two pieces today. So let's look a little closer at our card. These dies are from Spotlight on Nature. This card goes together really quickly, and it would be a great one if you were making multiples for Christmas. And again, directions, supply list, measurements are all can be found on my Scrappin' with Joni blog. What do you say we start to make a card? This is a standard card base, and we're going to fold it in half. And for me, in this card, a standard card base is half of an 8.5 by 11. So this is 5.5 by 8.5. There's our card, and when you have a card base like this, you can use it either way. Today we're going to use it this way. Then I have a standard black mat. We're going to come back to that in a minute. But first, we're going to emboss this embossing folder. I can't quit using it. You'll see lots of cards made with it. I really, really like it. It's part of the suite. It's called Forever Plaid. It's a 3D, meaning it gives a great impression. And when I get an embossing folder, I add the name of the folder and the sandwich, meaning which plates. I'm going to show you what else I love about these longer plates. You can, if you're making multiple cards, which why just make one when you can make two? I bet you know two people who would like to get a card from you. You can emboss two at the same time. So check this out. That's going to go there. Two cards at once. We're going to grab our cut and emboss machine. And I know the folder needs a 1 and a 4. We always use plate 1. And it has a little 1 on it to make it easy for us. Then we only have one plate left. So then our work is going to go in between because you always have a plate on top. So our embossing folder, fold first, Stampin' Up! Logo on top. In plate 4 in the Stampin' Up! System is the gray plate. There we go. And then we're just going to roll it through. If your machine is not rolling as smoothly as this, stop and check. Maybe you have the plates, maybe you're missing a plate, maybe you have too many plates, maybe things aren't aligned, but it really should just roll smoothly through for you. Okay. So let's look at that embossing. Look at that. And you know, it's such a neutral background. It gives a lot of texture, but you can use it for anything. So now I have one ready when I make my next card. And we'll get that out of the way. And then we're going to go back to that black mat and attach it. But before I do that, see that strip I have on here? So the Jingle Bell paper can kind of take front and center. That's what we're going to grab next. And I like to cut my strips of paper a little longer than I need because when you use your grid paper or your glass mat, it's easier to line it up. So I'm going to set this on here, and I'm going to bring this a 1/2 inch from the bottom, which on here is 2 squares. And then I'm going to grab my liquid glue, and I'm going to be pretty generous, but I'm not going to get too close to the edge. I'm going to be generous in the middle because when I smush it down, I don't want that glue coming out. It's on a heavily embossed surface, so the glue does need something to grab onto. So that's a lot of glue for me. And I'm going to make sure this is lined up. And by having my strip cut just a little longer, I have an edge of paper I can see that I've lined it up on that 1/2 inch mark. And I'm going to give it a nice firm push down. Sometimes I like to do this too. Let's grab a scissors and we're just going to trim using the edge of our paper as a guide. Have you ever cut a strip of paper that's going to go across the card front, exactly the same one, and it doesn't come on and you see a smidge on one side where you see the card underneath? Yeah, not a look I like either. So by going slightly longer and trimming it, that doesn't happen to me. Then we're going to add this piece to our black mat. See what that black does? It kind of makes everything on there pop. Again, liquid glue, because this is a heavily embossed surface. And if I grab my favorite tape runner, which I love to use in card making, it may just kind of glide over the top. So this glue will kind of catch the crevices and stick to the mat. And that's going to get here. And the other thing with the liquid glue is you can kind of move it around so you have it centered. Okay, let's continue to build our card front. As I said, these dies come from Spotlight on Nature. Such a versatile die set. I stamped the saying for the front and the inside from a just adorable little stamp set called Sweetest Star, and I'll put that information in my blog too. I'm going to pop this up and I'm putting the dimensionals just in the middle, and I'll show you why at the next step. So dimensionals, if you're not familiar with them, are little pieces of foam that are sticky on each side, and I'm really just putting them in the center. That's more than enough, and I have them nowhere around the outside of the circle. Then we're going to take them off. For me, I go to use my fingernails and think, no, that's not going to work. I use a take your pick tool. Your fingernails may work great, or the end of your snips. And that's going to go on here. And then at this point, you could glue it flat to your card, but I want to pop it up again. As long as I don't put dimensionals right underneath where the other dimensionals are, it's going to be fine. But if you have 2 rows of dimensionals, so what I'm saying is, I'm just reaching for dimension. Oh, right here. What I'm saying is, if I put another dimensional here in the center, then the thickness would be 2 dimensionals thick, and that may be more than wants to comfortably go through the mail. But if I put it around the outside, there's no dimensionals underneath this one. And when you put it in an envelope, it's going to flatten to the depth of 1 dimensional, and you're going to be fine in the mail. Take those off. And then you could put this anywhere you want. I like to put it to one side, but you could put it right in the center or to this side. Yeah, let's go to this side. And that's going on here. May your days be merry and bright. And then it's Christmas. We need a little bit of bling, right? Have you seen these? Aren't they beautiful? They are called, I hope I pronounced this correctly, Druzy Adhesive Back Embellishments. They're part of the Sentimental Christmas Suite, and they just say, I'm Christmas, I'm sparkly, I'm shiny. I'm going to use the silver ones. I like silver and black together, and silver and red. And I'm going to use the bigger ones. They're not any higher than the small size. They just have a bit more bling. So when I add embellishments, I add an odd number because that's more aesthetically pleasing. I tend to add 3, and I put them in a roughly triangular shape. You know what? Let's put 1 down here. I like to put 1 by the sentiment. And then roughly triangular just means 1 is by itself and 2 are closer together. It's a very rough triangle. But I started as a scrapbooker, and that was a technique I learned early on as I was designing pages. Okay. How easy was that? And it looks great. Let's add it to a card base. Now I can grab my tape runner because I'm attaching flat to flat. I like the Seal Plus tape runner, but use whatever adhesive you want. If you like if you're more comfortable using the liquid glue, that would work for this too. And then that's going to go right there. Look at that. It comes all together. Now let's talk about the inside. So on the inside, I use the sentiment from the same stamp set, and it says, wishing you a holly jolly Christmas. Perfect. Now you can put that in there, and that would look nice, but it looks a little bare. So I have just a scrap of the same paper from the front. It's a 1/2 inch wide, and I'm going to put a touch of glue along there. And this just finishes the inside of your card. It doesn't, you're just using up a scrap of paper. It takes no time at all, but it says, hey, let's just up this card game a minute. There we go. That's going to go there. And again, I have it longer than I need it. It's easier for me to line up that way. I have little handles. I have arthritis in my fingers and my hand. And some days they work pretty good for me, and other days it's a bit of a struggle. So having that extra piece to hold on to, for me, is easier. As you make your cards, you'll figure out what works best for you. There we go. Look what that does to that. And again, I'm doing flat paper to flat paper, so a tape runner will be just fine. And that's going to go in here. What a difference that little tiny strip of paper made. Like, seriously, isn't that more interesting? So we have this great card. You know what I'm going to say next. We are not sending it in a naked envelope. No way. This is too pretty a card to go in a blah envelope. So I have a strip of this paper again. And when you really think about it, you did not use a lot of print paper to make this card. So you could get a lot of cards using this card design from a pack of paper. And of course, you could change out the print for whatever you want. So I'm going to fold my envelope flap back, and I'm going to put glue on the envelope flap, not on the strip of paper. And we're just going to go right along the edge. But you do kind of want to go all the way around the edge, because you don't want anywhere that the postal machine can kind of slip in there. Ask me how I know that. There we go. And I'm going to close it up. And we're done gluing. So this can get put away before I get it on something I don't want. And we're going to use the envelope flap as our guide and trim. This really is an easy peasy Christmas card, and one that would be easy to make multiples of. We send out a lot of Christmas cards here, which I love doing. So I'm always on the lookout for a card that I can make a lot of. And this might be one of them. There we go. There's our card. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it more than you know. If you liked what you saw, please share it with your crafty friends. And until next time, take care and keep crafting. It's good for you.